Another episode of Battlebots has come and gone. Welcome back. It's time for another review. Let's look at the latest episode of Battlebots and let's talk about it. Now, I was actually really excited about the fight card from all the different robots showing up. There was a lot of generally fun robots to watch, and the debut of Dumba and Double Tap. And I gotta say, that main event definitely caught my eye. Given that these weren't robots I would typically expect to see in the main event, I knew something had to be up, so immediately I was very interested. Now, the first match was between Free Shipping versus Minotaur. Heading right into this, I felt this was going to be Minotaur's fight without a doubt. I can see why Free Shipping went for the more forklift-shaped wedgelets, but I also worried that we were going to see a very similar thing to what happened to Tantrum with the wedgelets starting to bend. But regardless of what strategy Free Shipping went for, these were two of my favorite teams out here in this opening fight, so I was already hyped here. Now, Free Shipping raced right out of the gate, but then backed away, and it was probably for the best as Minotaur, getting a nice hit, ripped a wedgelet right off. Forget bending, Minotaur is out for blood in this fight. Free Shipping starts sparking and running away as more big hits look like it's even maybe making the frame a little worse for wear. That Minotaur is really doing some major damage. Free Shipping does manage to push Minotaur about a bit, but Minotaur is quickly back with more hits. Free Shipping then ends up getting sandwiched into the pulverizer, losing a wheel, back into the wall, and seemingly getting stuck, which is probably for the best because Free Shipping really didn't get much of anything in this match. It was all Minotaur, and yeah, that's kind of what I expected. I love Free Shipping, but this was not a fight that they were going to win. This was absolutely Minotaur's fight to win. It was a good opening fight, as even though Free Shipping wasn't a losing battle, it did survive surprisingly well, got some good pushes in, and just kept surviving despite all the abuse it received. And obviously on the flip side, Minotaur with another just absolutely incredible win, showing its dominance. And I gotta say, it's still proving to be a giant nut favorite in my opinion. Next up, we have Claw Viper versus Ribbot. Now, I was very much looking forward to this one. We saw how good Claw Viper was in its last fight against Ominous, and this is going to be a really good test to see if it was just a fluke, or if Claw Viper really was better than ever. On the flip side, Ribbot, of course, is going to want to try and redeem itself after its loss to Witch Doctor, and we know that Ribbot's really good, so this is probably one of its better chances to do so. Now, Ribbot comes out with the vertical spinner, which really seemed like the best option, as trying to get underneath Claw Viper would have been the best possible option in this. Now, the buzzer sounds, and oh my god, blink and you'll miss it. Claw Viper was already over to Ribbot and got a good hold of them, just like that. It is baffling just how quickly they've gone. I remember, seeing comparisons to Storm 2, and that's exactly what I was thinking as well. It's great to see these kinds of fast, compact robots just being able to bully a robot around. You know, I know that Storm 2 is not the only one, there's also the likes of Tornado, but it's just nice to get to see these robots that have just great driving power be able to just shove around like crazy. Anyway, a good hit in return from Ribbot means that Ribbot is not backing down just yet, but Claw Viper very quickly back on the aggression, though their claw is notably a little bent. Ribbot ends up looking stuck at one point, but manages to get free, though at this point half of the drive seemed to be damaged. Claw Viper did pause a little while, seemingly very hesitant about going into Ribbot's weapon, which I can see why that might be a bit frustrating for people who want to just see the carnage, but of course you have to look at this as a tactic, you know. Claw Viper are trying to win, they can't just go headfirst into a weapon. Obviously, it does bring down the entertainment value somewhat, because you're just waiting for the moment where the match can get back going again. Thankfully, after a wait, Claw Viper finally comes in and gets a lovely suplex in before ramming Ribbot into the screws. It seems it's all about finding that opportune time, as now the aggression is all the way back up again. Ribbot's spinner looks to have broken at some point as Claw Viper rams them all over the box, grabbing and lifting them, playing cat and mouse with them, just absolutely toying with Ribbot. The fight ends, but I knew that Claw Viper was going to get the judge's decision. Sure, it definitely backed off at some point, But realistically, Ribot took more damage internally, you know, the weapon, the drive, and Claw Viper was so aggressive and so in control, this fight was easily Claw Viper's. Ribot did do some damage, but they were clearly unable to deal with the suffocating force of Claw Viper. 2-0, Claw Viper is having one hell of a Cinderella story so far. An awesome fight in my opinion. Claw Viper is so much fun to watch in the battle box. Then we have Sawblaze versus Lockjaw. Lockjaw I would have thought would have the advantage, but sacrificing the forks for the minibot in my opinion was a very bad move. Sawblaze of course gets right underneath them and gets some big shots in. There were some nice sparks flying from Lockjaw's weapon, but they clearly were not getting a good hit in. Sawblaze backs away, bats the minibot away just so casually before going in for more against Lockjaw. Lockjaw gets pushed around, though Sawblaze's arm seemingly isn't spinning up. Maybe Lockjaw was slowly chipping away at it, I don't really know, but it's clearly not enough to stop Sawblaze. Lockjaw gets flipped over at the screws and ends up stuck. While Lockjaw is counted out, Sawblaze continues to bully the minibot. Sawblaze was honestly pretty lucky, seeing as their spinner had stopped working. I could see the damage score going in Lockjaw's favour. But overall, Sawblaze came away with the victory, and honestly, this was a pretty disappointing fight given the caliber of robots involved. It could have been a crazy back and forth driving test between two of Battlebots' finest robot teams, but it was basically just Lockjaw trying to out-endure Sawblaze while being dominated around the battle box. Definitely not what I was expecting when I saw Sawblaze versus Lockjaw were competing against each other. Then we had Blip versus Huge! And I gotta say, I knew right away this was not gonna look good for Blip. Huge's design is very good against your typical compact low-to-the-ground style robot, and I just wondered what Blip could even do. Some fingers were added to Blip to help hook the wheels and allow them to get some better flips in than they would with the regular panel, and I admittedly was a bit skeptical. Their hooks looked to be a bit too small, but I was still intrigued to see if it would work. The fight starts and we got a nice hit from Huge after both robots size each other up. Another great hit, and Blip then gets a nice flip or two in return. Blip, after a rocky start in the beginning, does seem to be having a nice back and forth with Huge, though Huge is definitely, in my opinion at this point, getting the better of things with some massive hits, in fact embedding the bar into Blip. The match is stopped temporarily as they have to unstick the robots, and Huge's eyes looked so sad that they had to stop the fight. Thankfully, they managed to successfully separate the robots and the fight is resumed. Now, one thing that's notable by its absence is Blip's flipper that must have been disabled by that massive hit. However, Blip is enduring well and is being incredibly aggressive. Blip, being so compact, is acting like a brick to Huge's powerful weapon. Now, Huge does manage to get less in, actually, at this point, in my opinion, though they do manage to rip off one of Blip's fingers. It goes to the judges, who give it to Huge. I definitely can see why the judges went that way though, with the power disabling Blip's weapon, cutting a nasty hole into them and ripping a finger off. I can see why Huge would have gone the judge's decision based on the weight and damage, and I probably would have gone the same way as myself. But overall, I'd say that was a pretty good fight. It was two great robots just giving everything they had, and what should have really been a mismatch actually was really good. Next up, we had Witch Doctor versus Fusion. Now, I was interested to see how Fusion would do in this, as it showed some of its ability in its fight with Emulsifier, but we know Witch Doctor to be one of the top Battlebots, a runner-up, who can absolutely dominate the competition, so I knew that this was gonna go into an all-out flame war. Witch Doctor came out with a wedge, which I didn't expect, admittedly. The plan about going for the horizontal spinner is solid, but I feared right away that this was going to cause similar issues to what Emulsifier dealt with when it comes to facing the vertical side, which, shocker, the match begins, and Fusion is keeping the vertical side pointed to Witch Doctor. Manages to bend the wedge with the first hit. Then there was a second hit, and Witch Doctor is flopping around like a fish out of water. Witch Doctor starts avoiding Fusion for a bit as they're seemingly trying to get to the horizontal spinner, but they quickly seem to realise that that is going to be very difficult. However, a nice hearty hit disables the vertical spinner of Fusion. Witch Doctor now, with the fact that they managed to disable one of the weapons, know that they've got Fusion trapped. Fusion has to use the horizontal spinner or get eaten alive. However, dang! Fusion comes in with the heat. That horizontal spinner is not playing around. It rips Witch Doctor's wedge apart and just does so much damage. Witch Doctor's spinner seemingly stops working, and it's looking grisly as Witch Doctor rams into Fusion. And with a cough of smoke, Fusion's other spinner is now worse for wear, though it is still working. Witch Doctor continues to be aggressive, which is keeping Fusion on the ropes. Fusion is certainly not 100% and also looks like it's in a bad state at this point. The fight ends and we get the first split decision of the season. Witch Doctor wins, but I said that Blip versus Huge could be a controversial one. I can absolutely say that 10 times for this one. This was incredibly close, and I could see an argument being made either way, really. In fact, it's such that they even bring up the appeals decision. However, Reese Hewitt seems to be rolling with the decision and is just happy that Fusion didn't catch on fire, which definitely that's an improvement and a sign that Fusion is getting better, especially with how they pushed a robot like Witch Doctor to their limits. Honestly, controversial decision aside, this was my fight of the night. It was a hell of a back and forth between two incredible spinners. Fusion's unique design is really causing these powerful verts to really test their durability, power, and driving skills in a way it seems they might not normally have to. Not to say that they're not usually challenged, just that Fusion is such a unique package, it's clearly causing the opponents to rethink things. Next up was Double Tap versus Dumba, and I'm just going to read what I put in my notes. This fight is gonna suck, but I am dying to see it. Now, in a pre-fight package, they show all the new robots that have come to Battlebots this season. Robots like Terratops, Doom, Double Tap, Dragon King, and Dumba all were shown, which was very exciting to see. My critique is saying how they're outclassed, which, yeah, it's true, but with so many surprise rookie years that we see year after year, from robots like Glitch, Jackpot, Blip did well in its first season. It just seems a bit sad that you immediately write these robots off right out of the gate, but at the same time, it is being realistic. Now, as they came down to the battle box, I gotta say, I love Double Tap's carrying robot. It doesn't have the might of Tombstone's, but it has its own charm that really matches the theming of the robots, which I love. That's a very charming entrance. Now, Dumba looks very fun, but I gotta say, when they said that the chainsaw is just a prop, I was like, no, it's ruined forever. I want that chainsaw to be used. Listen, my notes for Dumba version 2. Note number 1, make Dumba's chainsaw work. I want that. I don't care if it does nothing. Make it work. Then they show what the teams are gonna say, which I don't normally bring up, but Team Double Tap says they're using their vertical spinner. What are you on about, Double Tap? That's a horizontal. What? Double Tap? Double Tap? Now the fight starts and both robots get up to speed. Dumba is real slow and a nice hit is landed from Double Tap. Double Tap takes a moment to get back up to speed, but Dumba is losing its head. A second hit comes in and Dumba is ripped apart, guts are exposed, and it's counted out. An easy win for Double Tap. Honestly, this was a terrible fight, but the robots themselves were so insane that it still entertained me nonetheless. But like, looking at it as a fight, yeah, this was bad. This was really bad. Finally, we move on to the main event. Now, early in the episode, they brought up that Mad Catter's team in the lower weight classes has a robot very similar in design, and they implied that Riptide copied it. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know the full extent of any tension and drama behind the scenes. This might have just been played up for the episode, so I'm gonna not get into all of that, because that seems like a minefield. I gotta say, the editing for Mad Catter in the promo package was incredible. It was so out there, and it was so fun to see how they you just couldn't help yourself. Like, this sucked me in. I could see right away there was a bit of controversy, a lot of intrigue, a face, a heel. Like, this was good. Like, I can see why they picked this to be the main event. I'm a little dubious about using drama for these shows because, you know, these are real people and real teams, and we already have enough problems with teams unintentionally caught in controversy. I worry about doing it on purpose. And Mad Cattter came out with an interesting looking front, which actually made sense when I looked at their page, and I actually remember seeing that it was apparently a case of that for the little Beetleweight, I think it was, that it just is probably the most efficient front at dealing with them. So I can see why, theoretically, bringing it into the heavyweights would make sense. Meanwhile, Riptide apparently exchanged some armor for a 60-pound egg beater. Honestly, that thing is terrifying. Like, that is such a beefy egg beater. Something so incredibly powerful. It just scares me, I'm going to be quite frank. Now the match begins. Mad Cattter gets a good first shot in, though Riptide immediately retaliates with an enormous hit of their own. And then there's another big back and forth with the hits, and then one of the wedges of Mad Cattter is taken off. With that and a flip, Riptide smashes Mad Cattter about and then flips them up and over, getting them stuck on the wall where they're counted out. They then kill Gassy Cat as Mad Cattter is counted out. That was an incredible, if short-lived, main event. Riptide is looking terrifying, but Mad Cattter, I've got to give them dues. I think that if they'd have stuck around, this could have been a really close call. So, if anything, I'm just a bit sad that it ended as quickly as it did. The whole hand in the face thing in the post-fight thing, I'm just making a quick note of it. That kind of, yeah, I'm a little bit nervous about this. Like, I hope that there isn't actually some major beef going on there and that this is just being done for the camera. Similar to how, like, Jake Ewart is playing up being the villain. I hope that's along the same lines because I'd kind of hate to find out that this is, like, a big actual bit of drama, like, between two teams that Battlebots is, like, using for using for episode material. I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. Overall, though, I'd say this was a pretty good episode. Fights like Witch Doctor vs. Fusion was easily my match of the night. You know, Ribbot vs. Claw Viper was an incredible showcase from Claw Viper. It was a brilliant fight when it was going. Free Shipping vs. Minotaur was a pretty good opener. You know, the only real disappointments were Swordblaze vs. Lockjaw because I expect a lot more from teams of that scale. And Dumba vs. Double Tap because, yeah, like, I find it funny, but I don't find it good. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about this episode. If you watched it, what are your thoughts? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Please let me know. And if you like the review, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified of future videos on the channel. Share the video around, that'd be super appreciated to get more eyes on the videos. With that all being said, I'll see you all next time. Bye guys!